time, it's like, why?
Yeah, those straight line wins. I couldn't do the straight line wins.
Oh, driving through the Dakotas is fun though, because you can be like, oh look, there's a hit. Oh nope, that's just a buffalo laying down.
Yep. Or, I remember going out there to pick up my son one time when his mom lived out there, and we were going up one of the highways, and you just get pummeled by the straight line wind, and you go from one lane just about into the median, and then you have to fight your way back, because if you don't, you're going to end up on the other side of the interstate.
Yeah, it flips trucks.
Yeah.
Like we have that issue here on the Benicia Bridge, going over the bay north to south. The straight line winds coming off the ocean, going west to east. They'll flip trucks, no problem. I mean, they'll 30 mile an hour winds here where I live are 70 mile an hour winds out in the open.
Mm-hmm.
No.
But yeah, I mean, coming down that road, we got taken off the interstate and down a frontage highway for 3 exits, because you had 3 subsequent, branches of the interstate or sections of the interstate. They had to shut down because of tipped over trucks.
Yeah.
Go out and go semi-tipping. It's like how tipping.
Just set up a box fan 10 miles from the interstate. By the time the air current gets there.
Yeah, that's why wrestlers and MMA fighters from South Dakota are so strong. It's because they're used to standing up and fighting the wind.
just having to even. And Lindsay and I have talked about, like, if we're gonna build a house out there, like we were talking about, like we do a 3/4 in ground house.
Oh, you would have to.
So everything's below ground, and then that way it doesn't matter if it's windy because you're underground. You don't care.
Yeah, but the flip side is even if it is underground, the top floor just turns into a giant snowbank.
Well, yeah. I mean, you'd have to dig it out.
Well, that's why you have 2 stories underground, and the bottom story is like an in-house garden with grow lamps and everything. You can just stay there all winter. You're good.
Just wind up completely underneath snow. Like, where's your house? Oh, I'm hiding.
Just
spring.
Just here, honey, wake up. There's a bison on the roof again.
Again, damn it! Go pop the hatch, motherfucker! Get out of here!
Cattle prod, go!
Walking up the stairs with a 45-70.
Hey, we got meat for the winter at that point.
Yeah, if you can get it through the door.
One buffalo.
If you can get it through the door.
You don't even need to get it through the door though. Like, you can butcher it outside. It's cold enough. It's gonna
Not
freeze.
With the wind. You won't be able to butcher it. The fucker will freeze before it even hits the ground. It'll just freeze.
That's what I'm saying. Is you just
Elon gave us a flamethrower. We'll thaw it out.
Just chainsaw. Let it freeze and then just chainsaw it into pieces and bring it in, and there you go.
Oil for bar and chain oil so you don't contaminate the meat.
Yeah. See. Yeah. You can get mineral oil. They use mineral oil in the transmissions, like really high-end cars. So if it'll work, this
is why I start the podcast early, so they can enjoy conversations like this. But hello, welcome to another fantastic and mildly odd episode of Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion. Yes,
hey, we got one fan of the 5 minute.
Yep. Yeah, 5 minute combo before this show is the great. You should see the 15 that I don't record.
At the very beginning.
I almost feel like we should start doing that on like Skype or something.
We are covered.
And record it.
Before I go live, we have like a 20-minute conversation. Let's be realistic. Yeah. Like at some point in time, I just decide to go live, but like we missed the first 15. Oh. But yeah, but we are covered by the BIPCOT no government license, which allows for the use and the reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That is BIPCOT.org. We're also covered by Brandenburg v. Ohio 1869, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here on Anarchy Among Friends Roundtable discussion is entirely hypothetical. I think this is episode 189.
Which if you've listened to every episode up to this point, what are you doing with your life?
Yeah, there are people who have, man.
Yeah, me, because I've been on all of them.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like,
I've missed one. Oh, I've missed two. One because my internet was out, and the other one because I did not like the particular guest, so I sat out.
No, you've actually missed three because there's the special one that me and Chris did too.
Yeah, it doesn't really count.
There's that one. Oh.
That was throwaway. That was throwaway episode. So three out of 189.
Brandon says he's getting FOMO just thinking about it.
Yeah. But before we get going, I have to bring up that in 2 weeks' time, that would be August 21st. August 21st is the 30th anniversary of Samuel Weaver's murder and the kickoff of the Ruby Ridge standoff. That is a Sunday. We will be recording live with penciled in right now. Had not completely set in stone, but they said that they would be here. Luke and Typo of Biting the Bullet podcast.
Sweet.
I am
excited.
excited.
That'll be a fun episode.
Yeah, that'll be entertaining.
Because those guys are based as fuck and easily entertained, so we'll have to add some crayons to our charcuterie board.
Crayons, some rubber cement, maybe.
No, the Elmer's paste.
Yeah, the paste.
Well, I mean, yeah, Luke Typo is from Southern Illinois, and then Luke is a California kid but grew up in Arizona. So that's gonna be a fun episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Both in bastions of blue.
Yes. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go too far into that one. They can tell us who they are, but I want to do it like we did with the Battle of Athens last year with Magnus and Trashman and Oldman. Just like talk shit for half an hour, do some background, and then do our thing, and I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll piss some people off and surprise them, and
well, pissing people off is kind of what we do.
Well, I try not to piss people off too much. I want to put the information out there, and they can react however they want.
Man,
I'm not responsible for their reaction.
True. I mean, yeah.
I mean, realistically, we aren't responsible if somebody gets pissed off.
Well, I mean, it depends on what we say.
No, it's how they react to it is their own fault.
Yeah, but sometimes, we're a little antagonistic. I'll admit that. We have our moments.
What? Us? No.
It's not It's not antagonistic. We're just okay. Yeah,
we're just us. I mean,
pretty antagonistic some days.
Not me. I'm an angel. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I'm a constant goddamn delight.
I'm innocent. No. Yeah.
Ain't nobody on this podcast that's innocent.
I said that with a straight face, damn it.
I mean, your eyes gave it away even with the glare. I can see it through the glare.
All right. Where do we want to start tonight?
Where do we want to start tonight? I have no idea.
We want to start with Fourth Amendment?
The Fourth Amendment? What the fuck's the Fourth Amendment?
The poaching.
Oh, the twig pigs?
Oh, the twig pig ones? No, we'll get to that later. Let's go with IRS.
That sounds good.
Yeah, Matt Gaetz introduces bill to ban the IRS from acquiring ammunition.
Yeah, why the fuck does the IRS need a bunch of fucking ammo?
IRS has their own SWAT team.
I was gonna say IRS has a SWAT team. Fuck, NASA has a fucking SWAT team.
Yep. U.S. Rep. Matt Gaetz, Republican out of Florida, has introduced a bill to ban the Internal Revenue Service from acquiring ammunition. The Disarm the IRS Act would ban the agency responsible for tax enforcement from purchasing ammunition after the agency has already stockpiled more than 5 million rounds.
Why
this year alone, the IRS has purchased an additional $725,000 worth of ammunition.
Dude, I wish I had $725,000 to spend on ammo. You know how nice that would be? I could buy like
they take it in. They take it in, and they
can
spend it before it ever hits the sheets.
If I had $725,000 to spend on ammunition, Phoenix would love me. Yeah. Quote, I'm not against stockpiling ammunition, but you shouldn't have to be a DC accountant to do it. You ought to be a mechanic in Pensacola. He told Fox News the Biden administration wants to, quote, disarm Americans, open the border, empty the prisons, and still collect your taxes with $725,000 worth of ammunition to do it.
Well, although if you've seen most IRS agents, really, I'm not super concerned about them in a gunfight.
Yeah, I've seen the movie The Accountant, and he doesn't work for the government, so I'm not too worried. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, if they're stockpiling ammunition, this only contributes to the problems and the prices that we're already seeing with ammunition.
Yeah. Okay. This is where this is. Okay. The bill would need to pass the House Ways and Means Committee before it's considered by the full House. Republican Representatives Jeff Duncan of South Carolina and Paul Gosar of Arizona and Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia have co-sponsored the bill. According to the Government Accountability Office, reports in 2018 that there were 2,148 law enforcement officers working for the IRS's Criminal Investigation Division. 2,148.
Okay, what criminal would fall under the IRS? Because tax evasion is not a crime.
Give me 1 second.
In the truest sense.
2,148 law enforcement officers working in the IRS's Criminal Investigation Division. They were armed with 4,461 weapons, including 15 fully automatic weapons and more than 5 million rounds of ammunition.
Why does the IRS need fully automatic weapons?
Why does the IRS need 2 guns per law enforcement officer?
The division investigates, quote, potential criminal violations of the Internal Revenue Code and related financial crimes in a manner that fosters confidence in the tax system in compliance with the law.
So confidence in the tax system, that's the thing that exists.
So what they're saying is their SWAT team, their gang of thugs is essentially there to, under threat of extreme violence, compel you to comply with their bullshit laws.
Yeah, according to 2020 OpenTheBooks.com report, the quote, the militarization of the U.S. executive agencies, including the IRS, having 2,159 special agents and spending $21.3 million on guns, ammunition, and military-style equipment between the fiscal years of 2006-2019, which includes a stockpile of more than 4,500 guns.
More than 2 weapons per...
Yeah. Adam Andrzejewski, Open the Books CEO and founder, told Center Square, quote, after grabbing legal power, bureaucrats are amassing firepower. It's time to scale back the federal arsenal. Just who are the federal agencies preparing to battle?
Certainly couldn't be people, that would consider themselves rooftop voters.
Yes. Hold on. Okay. Now this is... give me 2 paragraphs. Give me 2 paragraphs. Hold that. According to the report, this is the OpenTheBooks.com report, 103 federal agencies outside of the Department of Defense and 76 administrative agencies spent $2.7 billion and $110.6 million, respectively. That's $2.7 billion on federal agencies, $110.6 million on 76 administrative agencies, on guns, ammunition, and military-style equipment between the fiscal years of 2015 and 2019.
First question.
Hold on. The report notes that there are more federal officers with arrest and firearm authority within the IRS than there are U.S. Marines.
Gosh, what? Who on earth could the IRS possibly be so concerned about that they feel the need to have a larger army?
I know that's a segue. That's a fantastic segue to the later articles, but we're gonna wait till the later articles to talk about that. That is the perfect segue. So just remember that.
First off, what the hell do we need? Just the numbers.
Okay, I'm gonna say that again. There are
9 federal agencies for it.
There are more federal officers with arrest and firearm authority with the IRS
than the Marines.
Than there are U.S. Marines. There's more people with arrest and firearms authority enforcing tax code than there are members of the U.S. Marines.
Yeah, like I said, why do they need a larger army than the Marines? And
that's not even just combat troops in the Marine Corps.
No,
that's the entire Marine Corps.
Hold on, Chris, you just asked about the how many federal agencies, why are there so many? To put this in perspective, because people occasionally ask, what's with the Campbell's soup thing? And, the alphabet boys. Okay, let me run through, I'm just going to briefly run through a small collection of agencies by their acronyms, just their acronyms for the sake of time. There is the ABMC, the ACF, ACFR, ADF, AFRH, AHRQ, AMS, AMTRAK, ADA, APHIS, APPAL, ARS, the ATBCB, the ATF, the ATSDR, the BBG, the BEA, the BGSEEF, the BIA, the BIS, the BLM, the BLS, the BOP, the BOR, the BPA.
We get it. We get it. We get it. How many is there? What's the number?
Let's just, if you can, okay, come on, focus. There we go. We're just going to go, this is the list of federal agencies.
And then there's more that we don't know about.
There's an entire agency, the WHD, the Wage and Hour Division.
Jesus Christ.
But
yeah, 103 federal agencies outside of the Department of Defense spent $2.7 billion. Come on, math boy, what's that number?
Wait, what is it? There's
2.7 divided by 103.
So that was billion?
Yes.
2.7 billion.
Yes, 2.7 billion divided by 103.
26,213,592.
Yeah. How many firearms could you buy with firearms, military equipment could you buy with $26 million? A lot.
Quite a few. Unless on the United States government, in which case it's like a wing of a jet.
So looking here, looks like the United States government manual lists 96 independent executive units, and of those, 220 components of the executive departments. An even more inclusive listing comes from USA.gov, which lists 137 independent executive agencies and 268 units within the cabinet.
That's insane. But they got $5 million worth of ammo at the IRS.
Just fucking... Oh, Dave asked in the chat, does it mean arrest power is like technically a paper arrest, counts like a desk jockey arrest, like field agents to place cuffs? What it's saying is that people who could take a gun and a pair of cuffs and go physically arrest someone.
Yes.
Yes.
It says there are more federal officers with arrest and firearm authority. So it's actual arrest authority as in physical detainment.
Like, you remember back when like Herbert Hoover was first running the FBI and everyone laughed at him for not having an arrest, although technically he had a bunch of paper arrests. And like, we're talking about true arrest authority. So like actually going out and doing things to people, like physically pointing a gun at them, telling them to get on the ground, putting cuffs on them. There are more of them in the IRS who can do that Then there are United States Marines.
Yes. Says that there's 200,000 IRS agents with arrest and firearms authority, and 182,000 U.S. Marines.
Which makes you wonder how many. I mean, that's a lot of part-timers, considering the IRS in 2021 numbers only had 78,661 full-time positions.
Yeah.
So I wonder how many contractors they're using that they're deputizing with those powers.
Independent contractors, and then they also have a lot of specialty teams.
Oh, yeah, the Department of Defense has a huge number of people who are capable of doing arrests perfectly legally. Huge number. Like, the majority of people in like the Pentagon have arrest power. Technically.
And don't forget that the government just added like 600 IRS agents to go after billionaires. There's only like 128 billionaires in this country,
but they need 600 people to go after them.
Yep.
You know what? You know why this is actually I shared this on Telegram earlier in a group that I was in. But you know why the IRS doesn't go after billionaires? Or rarely goes after billionaires? Because billionaires can afford lawyers.
Yep.
Yeah, literally, the billionaires can afford lawyers that draw out audits for months, years, decades, and it makes it not financially feasible to go after billionaires.
Yeah. Well, billionaires, don't forget, can afford to hide their money places. They can afford to stick money in the Grand Caymans and in the Maldives and like
Switzerland.
Well, Switzerland isn't actually a really good tax haven anymore because they cooperate a lot with now. But Grand Caymans still don't. The Maldives still don't. There's plenty of third world countries out there that just grease the right palms, and
you could trade it all into a piracy or to a privacy coin, like Pirate Chain or Monero.
Yeah, look at Sealand, right? The whole reason that Sealand kind of exists is to serve as a place that of all of these servers that hold on to all this money can be sitting.
Yeah.
That's an independent country.
Yep. Like Pirate Bay, Ross's servers, they were in a barn in Iceland. Yep.
It's just
yes, there's more IRS agents with arrest and firearms authority than there are U.S. Marines.
Which means that the Marines are less likely to fight someone and are planning less to go
the U.S. Marines are way, way, way less of a threat to our freedoms than the IRS.
Than the IRS.
Yes.
Well, I mean, yeah.
But the IRS has plans to collect taxes after a nuclear explosion.
30 days.
Yeah.
Yep. According to their own manual, 30 days after a nuclear
onslaught. Holocaust.
Yes.
Like, it's so in Fallout, in the real Fallout, there would also still be IRS agents running around. Although the good news is that you can just stake them to the ground where there's a large amount of radiation and watch the fun begin.
Yes. Yes, Scott. They also have it. I think it may have been like a joke post, but it turned into an actual piece of their website. How to collect taxes during a zombie apocalypse.
Yep.
So
I'm going to pay my
we know
zombies.
I think we all watch The Walking Dead. We know the military is ineffective against zombies.
Yeah. Well, I actually didn't watch The Walking Dead. I read the comics. I've never actually watched the show.
Yeah.
I watched the first couple of seasons and then I completely lost interest.
Yeah, it got really bad. But now that we're all domestic terrorists again, let's get
stopped?
on. It's look at that. This is the patch I'm wearing, dude.
Relabeled as domestic terrorists.
Let's say, I mean, I'm learning how to weld for a reason. I'm not giving away what that reason might be, but
In other news, we're also looking for a dump truck. If you know someone who has a
Komatsu go brrr.
No, Komatsu go clink, 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 clink,
Clink,
clink.
clink.
Remember, there's a reason why American tankers, do not like to drive tanks. Well, any tankers really don't like to drive tanks through buildings. And it's because there can be basements underneath those buildings. And it may shock you, but floors of homes are not built to hold up 40 tons of steel. So
and they tend to overheat a little bit, tends to get real warm in there. So that's just something you might want to consider.
You know, you could probably
in case you were wondering.
You know, just a thought, like you could probably put like a refrigeration unit inside the like kind of in a box on the side of the crew compartment and run air tubes, air passages through the refrigeration unit to help keep or run coolant straight up, like actual engine coolant, out through some sort of contraption. Just a thought, not for any particular reason.
No,
given the advancements in battery technology, you can have a battery in there with you in some sort of cooling unit, blowing out, blow the exhaust out.
In reality, if you had a large enough cooler full of ice for somebody to sit on in a box fan, you could make your own AC unit.
Well, yeah.
I don't mean just for the inside, because the inside isn't so much the concern as the keeping the engine, which is now armored, properly cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to figure out a way to do that. You could, if you wanted to rig up a bunch of CO2.
If you had a large enough condenser, you could run water cooling just like you do with a regular air conditioner.
Well, yeah, but you can't compress water. So you have to compress the gas, so it'd still be a refrigeration unit that would then be, that's what I was saying is, so you run a coil inside the refrigeration unit, and then that way the refrigeration unit is cooling that coil constantly. However, an alternative would be you coil around the passages that you're using for the engine coolant. You could run copper coils around that and hook that up to CO2 that then vents to the atmosphere, and that expansion of the CO2 through it will cryogenically hypercool that tube, which will then allow the cooling of the coolant, which will keep the motor cool without you needing to expose the engine to the outside.
You might almost be better off, instead of using copper tubing, using aluminum tubing for that, just because of how well it disperses heat.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I'd worry about the durability of aluminum, though.
Aluminum is more durable, especially in certain alloys, than copper is.
Yeah. I don't know.
All right. Now that we're FBI whistleblower leaks Bureau's domestic terrorism symbols guide on militia violent extremists.
When we ask, who are the IRS planning on fighting? Agencies planning on fighting.
So this is a Project Veritas article?
No, Brandon, it did not turn into Killdozer 101. This is all in Minecraft. We would never do any of this.
I have some manuals, though. Hit me up on Telegram. Project Veritas released a newly leaked document today provided by an FBI whistleblower, which shows how the Bureau classifies American citizens it deems to be potential, quote, militia violent extremists. In the document, the FBI cites symbols, images, phrases, events, and individuals that agents should look out for when identifying alleged domestic terrorists. The, quote, unclassified law enforcement sensitive document says it's for, quote, FBI internal use only. Andrew's putting on a patch of something or other.
Oh, no. I'm just gathering patches.
Of note, under the symbols section is a prominent citation of the Second Amendment, which explains that, quote, MVEs, that's military violent extremists, justify their existence with the Second Amendment due to the mention of, quote, a well-regulated militia, as well as the right to bear arms.
So, that
You
Constitution thing that they say that they're supposed to uphold.
Because you want a right to bear arms, you are therefore an MVE.
Give me 2.5 paragraphs. Right below that, under the, quote, commonly referenced historical imagery and quotes section, Revolutionary War images such as the Gadsden flag and the Betsy Ross flag are listed. Each flag displayed in the document comes with a brief description of what it means. We'll get to that. Under the, quote, common phrases and references section of the leaked document, Ashley Babbitt is listed or is cited as a person that MVEs consider to be a martyr.
I don't think any of us has ever said she's a martyr.
No.
I think we said that she was murdered.
Yes, she will say that she was murdered and it was wrong to shoot her. The same document also refers to Ruby Ridge, Waco, and even Timothy McVeigh, tying in traditional American ideas and symbols with radical and or violent events in the past.
Well,
because as we all know, the history of the United States and those symbols is incredibly peaceful.
Mostly peaceful, but fiery.
Hold on. Okay,
yeah, fiery, but mostly peaceful revolutions.
Ruby Ridge was escalated and caused by the government.
Yep.
Waco was escalated and caused by the government. Timothy McVeigh, the Oklahoma City bombing. It was said that he did that in retaliation for the government's actions at Ruby Ridge and Waco, but we now know that it was actually an inside job, that it was government informants, etc., etc. So, like, that whole thing doesn't really count. But
if you watch anything with the mainstream media, they all say paint McVeigh as nothing but just his nut job that.
Okay, let's see. For symbols, there's the Boogaloo flag.
Whoops.
Punisher skulls.
So that would be most law enforcement officers, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, I got a Punisher skull in my truck too.
Yeah. Anything 2A. The anarcho-capitalism flag.
Yeah, I love that the ANCAP flag is a.
Would this qualify? I'm just making sure. Would this qualify?
No, it's not on that list.
Warrior culture, which is military themes, both historical and contemporary, such as Spartans or Valhalla. Molten Lab.
Yeah, Molten Lab.
Would affiliation with FPC qualify?
The black flag.
Yeah, the black flag.
No quarter shall be given.
Oh, gee, you mean the no quarter? I don't know, like maybe my profile picture on absolutely everything. No quarter.
The Betsy Ross flag. Right. That's for the one with the 13 stars.
We just keep checking them off.
The Liberty Tree.
Yeah, the Gadsden flag's on there.
The Gadsden flag, and then Revolutionary War imagery. Dave, exactly. Dave from Prophet's Patches nervously looks at humongous patch ball.
Yeah, a Revolutionary War imagery. Example of a militiaman during the Revolutionary War.
So, literally, if you show imagery, traditional American historical imagery at all, you are therefore a
DVE.
Yeah, DVE. Well, an MVE, a militia.
Militia. Yeah, you're not just a domestic violent extremist. You're a militia violent extremist.
So where does this one fall in? I'm just curious.
The Mandalorian.
I'm just.
There's that maybe.
I'm looking at my wall. I have a Boogaloo flag.
Well, I got this one.
I have
our man
the black
Dave's
flag.
Oh yeah, I have.
Yeah,
all of my patches are on a giant thing over there.
How about this one?
Yeah, definitely.
I did grab a small assortment of
You're a militia extremist, Christopher.
I knew that already.
Yeah.
I'm not a
It has Dave. It has the Betsy Ross flag, which is the original 13 colonies flag. So it has the stripes, but then it has the 13 stars.
Yeah.
Like the traditional 50-star flag, I don't think is on the list because it's on every state capitol building.
It's literally on all of the uniforms of the same people.
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to get away with it if they said that. We will do a list in a second here that Dave will be like, okay, so 50 out of 72.
Yeah, I really want to read through that one. That one's fucking great.
Yeah.
So at this point, are we looking at?
I mean,
I just pull up Dave's website and go.
So,
all right.
Yeah, I have a few on that list.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure we all do.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm not even going to show my patch collection. It's too big to even fit the screen. But
I'm wearing an Appeal to Heaven one also, which I'm pretty.
I will consider that I have made it when those flags that I designed that I post on my Instagram that I want to turn into actual flags and patches. When those start showing up on those lists, I will have officially considered myself a success.
I think all three of them by Christopher would count.
Yep.
Yeah, they would.
Yep. You got a modified Gadsden. You got 2 Boogaloo flags.
And guess what? I still don't give a shit.
Yeah.
It'd be like that SUV that I had driving around my house earlier this week.
Yay! I don't know why you get watched so much now.
Silver blacked out SUV made.
It's because you don't have 3 militia violent extremist flags behind you.
Yeah,
I don't know what you're talking about.
Well, you know what's funny is I just had to get fingerprinted this week because
and then I get surveilled.
But like I had to get fingerprinted, and I laughed, and I'm like, well, it's not like they don't already have them. But
so Dave just sent me a picture of his patch wall. Dave is definitely a militia violent extremist. Dave is definitely.
Look at what Jack just said to us. What a jerk.
David said the Ralph chuckles. I'm in danger.
Yeah, I'm in danger.
Wait, that's kind of how I feel. I mean, just looking at what's behind me, that's kind of how I feel.
Just wait, Dave. We have another article.
Yeah, we have another one.
We don't need to dig too far into this, right? I mean, we knew that this was happening, right?
Yeah, we've been down this road before. I mean, with the whole DVE thing. I think it was last time.
That. Yeah, like with the DVE thing, right? What these press releases are designed to do is they show the symbols and stuff. They go out to law enforcement.
Oh, and it's
so the law enforcement then
1,000% political.
Yeah, because then law enforcement then goes like if they pull you over and you have a sticker of one of these things on the back of your vehicle, or you're wearing a patch, or you're wearing a T-shirt, or whatever, they're then inclined to consider you a danger. And inherently violent.
Warrior ethos training kicks in.
Yep. And then they're inclined to shoot you. And that's what this is for, is to make them inclined to shoot you.
Oh.
When in fact, all of us, or most of us that display these, wonderful things of artistry, all we want is to be left the fuck alone.
As soon as we get that property, every flag on this list is being flown.
Just fly them all.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what's got to be out front though is the one from I think OAF Nation has it. That's the Strangers Not Welcome with the Rufio skull, and it says nice. Strangers Not Welcome. It's fucking awesome.
Boring sandwich. Gray man till the shooting starts. It's too late to gray man for us.
Oh yeah, there's no point now.
I'll gray man afterwards if I can.
I mean,
I understand the role
the
role of the above and the underground activist. I read
I prefer to be
sabotage.
Yeah, I prefer to be flat out in your face. Like, I idolize guys like Thomas Paine and other revolutionary statesmen who talked, who spoke, who led people to the movement and fomented that in people's minds. That's what I like.
Do we know any painters? Because the side of a Komatsu has a lot of room.
I mean,
I know a couple of people who are quite talented artists.
I know graffiti artists.
That's all we need. That's all we need. We can do that.
I know a few talented graffiti artists.
So all right, let's get onto this list. It's going to take a minute.
Oh, this list is fucking great.
Okay. For this list, we're going to get this list is not new, and there's no there's no substantial proof that this list ever really existed. When I first got into prepping, 2010, 2011. This list came out right after I got into that, and it's rumored to have been written by James Wesley Rawls. James Wesley Rawls is the one that coined the phrase "the readout." He's also the one that wrote the Patriots series of prepper fiction. So he's rumored to have written the list. There's no proof that it was ever actually a government list, but it has been. It comes up every time. Every few years, it comes back to the surface when one of these domestic violence or domestic terrorism, or in this case, the militia violent extremists, any sort of that talk happens. This list comes back up.
And it chunks of it, significant aspects of it, not necessarily in its entirety, but basically every chunk of it has come up in verifiable documents, like referencing these things. But
somebody read that out loud.
I read that out loud.
I'll read it. I mowed giant penises into my back paddock for the pilots at Fort Leonard Wood to look at. Does that count?
Thank you for your service.
Yes.
They also thank you for your service, because every time they see them, they're like,
Now, if you go out back sometime after they're done flying around and you see one written in the sky, hey, they're just sending one back. That's all.
They're just, it's a communication. It's a give and take.
Yeah. If they write one in the sky, they're flirting with you, bro.
All
right, let's get on this list.
Okay, the list. Yeah, but what I was saying
we'll do the list. We'll do the list, and then we'll do the Thomas Sowell piece, Point of No Return.
Okay. Yeah, so this list, it in its entirety has never shown up anywhere that's verifiable, but the pieces that are most likely compiled together to create this list have shown up in a ton of verifiable documents in bits and pieces. And this document has like 3 or 4, and this document has 10, and this document has 15 of them, and this has 2, and so...
So we want to just read that last paragraph and then get onto the list.
Oh, the below thing?
Yeah, below is a list of 72 types.
72 types of Americans that are considered to be extremists and potential terrorists in official U.S. government documents. As far as in this, it says if you want to see the original source document, click the link, but the link all goes to all of the links have been changed since.
Yeah.
They don't go to the same documents anymore.
Yeah, they go to Scribed, a lot of them.
Yeah, and they go to some Air Force thing on sexual harassment now.
Yeah.
They didn't used to, but they do now. This is a 4-year-old thing. But in the past 4 years, they've updated those documents so they don't go to the leaked ones anymore.
All right.
Who wants to start?
All right, so those that talk about individual liberties.
Check.
Those that advocate for states' rights.
Check.
Ding.
Those that want quote, to make the world a better place.
Ding.
You embrace the Care Bears, you bastard. The colonists who sought to free themselves from British rule, end quote.
Check.
Ding.
Quote, those that are interested in defeating the communists.
Ding.
Check.
I have up on my German 88 back here, there are a bunch of bracelets that say "Slay Commies." Those that believe, quote, that the interests of one's own nation are separate from the interests of other nations or the common interest of all nations.
Ding.
So anti-globalists. Anyone
Ding, ding.
that holds
Ding.
a political ideology that considers the state to be unnecessary, harmful, or undesirable.
Ding.
Ding. 7 for 7. We're batting it out.
Anyone that possesses an, quote, intolerance toward other religions, end quote. So people who
half ding.
But the way that they define that is essentially anyone who says that their religion is exclusive. In this original source document, that one I've actually seen. It basically says, if you say, oh, like if you quote Jesus and you say, he said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. The moment you say that last bit, immediately you're on the list.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I have to ding on that one.
Yeah.
Let's see. Those that, quote, take action to fight against the exploitation of the environment and or animals.
Uncle Ted.
Yeah.
Uncle Ted.
PETA. Hell, the ASPCA.
Fucking Greenpeace.
The people gluing themselves to the art in Europe.
Yeah.
Extinction, whatever, that group.
Yeah. I mean, it's mostly, that one's mostly centered around Weather Underground, who be kind of terrorists.
Bill Ayers.
Also, and Weather Underground is one of the reasons why I laughed so hard about the January 6th thing, because they literally set off a bomb in Congress. So when people go, it's the worst attack.
Yes.
Let's see here. Anti-gay, anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim, the Patriot movement. I love the Patriot movement. The fact that people who consider themselves patriots of the country are therefore dangerous to the country. Nope. Pretty sure.
More dings than a range day with an M1 Grand Club.
Bing, bing.
Let's see.
Mostly Andrew. Dave says that was a mostly peaceful bomb.
It was a mostly peaceful bomb. Puerto Rico. I think it was Puerto Ricans, right? Puerto Ricans also shot a bunch of congressmen in the 1950s. Anyway, I covered that on a previous episode. Go back and watch it. I went through all of them. Anyway, opposition to equal rights for gays and lesbians. Members of the Family Research Council. Members of the American Family Association.
Those are both Christian groups.
Those that believe that Mexico, Canada, and the United States, quote, are secretly planning to merge into a European Union-like entity that will be known as the North American Union.
NAFTA,
that's a new one.
NAFTA.
Yeah,
NAFTA.
NAFTA.
Members of the American Border Patrol.
What?
Yep, members of the American Border Patrol. / American Patrol. Members of the Federation for American Immigration Reform. Members of the Tennessee Freedom Coalition. Members of the Christian Action Network. Anyone that is, quote, opposed to the New World Order, end quote.
Ding.
Say that the New World Order is a real thing without saying that the New World Order is a real thing. Anyone that is engaged in conspiracy theorizing.
I
don't know anyone like that.
No.
What?
That's just a conspiracy, bro. That's a conspiracy.
Yeah. Anyone that is opposed to Agenda 21.
By the way, Andrew, how were those books?
They're pretty good. Lindsay really
30
liked them, by the way.
30 by 30 scares me more than Agenda 21 and Agenda 2130. I'm just going to say that, but
yeah,
they're all part of the same thing.
And to wit, anyone that is concerned about FEMA camps.
Ping.
Anyone that, quote, fears impending gun control or weapons confiscations, because as we all know, as recent news has proven, they definitely aren't coming for your guns.
Right.
Let's see here.
The militia movement is the next one.
Yeah, the militia movement, the sovereign citizen movement, those that don't think they should have to pay taxes. Anyone that, quote, complains about bias, end quote.
What? All right.
Anyone that, quote, believes in government conspiracies to the point of paranoia. Well, paranoia is just reality on a finer scale.
Oh, I love this next one. I love this.
How is it considered? How can it be considered paranoia when the fucking feds are driving around my house?
Wait. Hold on. The next one's.
Anyone that is, quote, is frustrated with mainstream ideologies, end quote.
What?
So
yes.
I don't know if you've ever seen Equilibrium, but yeah, anyone that, quote, visits extremist websites or blogs. Hi guys, welcome to the left.
Hi. Grab a cookie.
Anyone that establishes
grab your orange jumpsuit. Line files to the right.
Yeah.
Oh.
The nice man down there will assign your FEMA camp. Let's see here. Anyone
I got a delivery.
Oh, nice. Anyone that, quote, establishes a website/blog to display extremist views.
We're joining you.
Hi.
I'm saying Anarchy Among Friends live in a FEMA hut would be just a blast.
We wouldn't even actually have cameras because we probably wouldn't be allowed them or anything. So just be like pieces of wood that have been roughly carved to kind of look like microphones, and we're just sitting around the table. Let's see here. Anyone that attends rallies for extremist causes. Anyone that exhibits extreme religious intolerance. Again, just simply saying, my religion is the only right one. That's intolerance. Anyone that is personally connected with a grievance. Okay. Yeah. Anyone that, quote, suddenly acquires weapons. How do you suddenly acquire weapons? Like, you're just like walking down the street, somebody's like, hey kid, you want a 45? And you're like, okay, but
give me a winning lottery ticket and you'll find out.
Dave said he draws patches with crayons and construction paper. Giving away the latest design. It's like macaroni art.
Macaroni art patches in the FEMA camp. There you go.
Oh man.
Let's see here. Anyone that organized protests inspired
trade you a bar of soap for a boogaloo shark patch. How about that?
I'm just picking like all these macaroni art patches being exchanged.
There you go.
Can you? I really, you know what I really want is an actual morale patch that looks like macaroni art of like a Gadsden flag, and it's just like
that would be awesome.
About a FEMA.
I can like probably.
Don't
Andrew, I can probably get you somebody that can put it on a T-shirt for you.
I was gonna say, or like a T-shirt of it where like looks like macaroni art, Gadsden flag, and it's like in crayon with like some backwards S's and stuff, like made in FEMA, made in FEMA camp, whatever art class.
Macaroni art, limited edition, cost extra.
Yeah. Painted with genuine lead paint. Let's see here. Where was I? Militia or unorganized militia. I love the unorganized militia. So yes. like people then. Yeah. I actually have my unorganized.
What is it? Everyone
own guns.
Everyone 18 to 45 or whatever it is. Yeah.
Well, I have I've worn it on the show a couple times. My unorganized militia, some assembly required.
There you go.
Patch.
General right wing extremist.
General right wing. Oh, you're right wing. You're right wing extremist.
Yeah.
Based on citizens that have, quote, bumper stickers that are patriotic or anti-UN. Yes.
I want to point out that what Dave just said, he says, ... that's gold. I'll get on it. I'm just here for fishing for patch ideas.
Yeah, we got you, Dave.
Hey man, necessity is the mother of invention. So if you have to do a macaroni art patch, you got to do a macaroni art patch. It's, it's the FEMA camps. What are you gonna do? Let's see. Those that refer to an army of God, something specifically mentioned in the Bible. So again, those that are, quote, fiercely nationalistic as opposed to universal and international in orientation. So, like, basically anyone who's not an anarchist. Those that are anti-global. Those that are suspicious of centralized federal authority. Those that are, quote, reverent of individual liberty. Those
so
that,
if you just want to be left alone.
We'll get to you.
Extremist. Those that believe in conspiracy theories. Those that have a belief that one's personal and or national way of life is under attack. Those that possess a belief in the need to be prepared for an attack either by participating in paramilitary preparations and training or survivalism. Those that would, quote, impose strict religious tenets or laws on society.
Fauci.
Right? It's, hey, man, that's the most dangerous religion is statism. Those that would, quote, insert religion into the political sphere, end quote. So the entirety of the founding fathers. Anyone that would, quote, seek to politicize religion, end quote. Wait a minute, but didn't... Okay, anyway. Those that have, quote, supported political movements for autonomy, end quote. Jason with your patch.
Hashtag appeal to heaven.
Let's see here. Anyone that is anti-abortion, anyone that is anti-Catholic, anyone that is anti-nuclear.
Anti-nuclear. Who's that right now?
Yeah. Right-wing extremists. Returning veterans. Yep. Returning veterans. Are you a veteran? Are you a little upset about the fact that your recruiter definitely fucking lied to you? Well, guess what?
Yeah.
You should just shut the hell up and be happy that you got some Red Lobster for free there, bucko. Let's see. Those concerned about illegal immigration. Those that believe in the right to bear arms. Anyone that is engaged in ammunition stockpiling. Looking at you, IRS.
Hashtag IRS.
Anyone that exhibits fear of communist regimes. Looking at you, JFK.
Not only that, but these fear of communist regimes such as Russia and China and
China. Yeah, Russia, China, North Korea.
That ammunition stockpiling one, I feel absolutely personally attacked by that.
You should be.
Yeah. Anti-abortion activists, those that are against illegal. Why do they mention those that are against illegal immigration so many times? Like, we get it. Yeah.
See, but that's, I think, like those that are against illegal immigration. Illegal. Like,
I don't think that legal immigration can exist, nor can illegal immigration.
Yeah. Okay,
fuck your imaginary lines.
The next one. Oh my goodness.
Those that talk about, quote, the New World Order in a derogatory manner. Yet again, say that the NWO exists without actually saying the NWO exists.
You see that's number 66?
Yeah, and it's number 66. Look at that. What a coincidence.
I sense no irony here.
Those that have a negative view of the United Nations. Like anyone who pays attention to the United Nations.
So anybody who would like a matching set of blue soup bowls?
Yeah, my bell broke.
Those that are opposed to the collection of federal income taxes. Those that supported former presidential candidates Ron Paul, Chuck Baldwin, and Bob Barr.
What?
It specifically says Ron Paul, Chuck Baldwin, and Bob Barr.
Yes, it does.
Those
display the
flag.
Hey, mine doesn't say, don't tread on me. It says fuck you. No, that's entirely different.
Mine says no step on snack.
I have one of those too.
I also have a don't nuke me bro one that I rather enjoy.
I have two of the no step on snake patches.
I also have one that's the snake in NVGs and panoramic NVGs with a clacker in his tail coming up out of the hole. Actually, officer, I'm here to confiscate yours.
Your guns, yeah.
Dave, if you made a blue helmet patch that said, showed a stack of blue helmets upside down, it said, "Look at my soup bowls," I'd buy the shit out of it.
Flower pots.
They're flower pots. They're already pre-drainaged. Mm-hmm. They have nice holes in them. Flower pots. Those that believe in end times prophecies and evangelical Christians.
Such as who we'll be talking about on August 21st on the 30th anniversary of Samuel Winger's death and the start of the Ruby Ridge standoff.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. So yeah, that is the list. It's been floating around for a long time. I'm going to put that disclaimer out there again. This isn't a new list, but
yeah, it's not a new list, and
it all fits what we've been told for the last 10 years.
Well, more than that. I mean, we've been told the past 15. I can remember when I was in high school, I was talking about.
Essentially, just shut up and get in the boxcar is what we've been told for the last, however long.
Hey, they're privately funded boxcars, bro. If you don't want to get in the boxcars, you can just leave.
Remember the early 2000s, right? When like Kirk Cameron's
just get in the box. Don't resist.
Yeah, well,
he froze.
Don't resist. No.
I think that could not have been better timed.
Yeah. Doing the boxcar, don't resist.
And then you freeze. It's like
did I freeze?
You did.
Yeah.
You said get in the boxcar. Don't resist.
Don't resist. Just take your day in court, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, like, remember the early 2000s, right? 20 years ago. But anyway, remember.
We were a teen. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, but still, man. Like, I was only a few years away from, like, heading to combat, so.
I was an adult changing diapers. Fuck you very much.
But, like, remember in the early 2000s, right? Like, there already was, like Kirk Cameron's Left Behind series came out, and there was a bunch of that stuff, and like there was already talk about Agenda 21 and all these other things. This was already stuff that was coming out even 20 years ago.
Like early 2000, like you got to remember, like 2000 Y2K. Like Y2K, there was a lot of fear surrounding Y2K and what would happen with the computers and all this good stuff. And that was on the tail end of a decade of Operation PatCon, Patriot Conspiracy. So like they spent a whole like 15 years at the end of the Cold War just demonizing anyone that was right wing. Waco, Ruby Ridge, those were both part of Operation PatCon. Down there in Texas had big Operation PatCon. Like the ATF created a Nazi militia in South Texas so that they could run guns to militia groups on the border. But all told, like Operation PatCon, they arrested like 3 people over a decade.
Woohoo! That was taxpayer dollars well spent.
So like 2002, 2003, 2004, like they had just had 15 years of Operation PatCon and all this anti-right-wing, anti-militia, and all this other stuff coming up. And
I remember that
Y2K prepping and 9/11 happened, and just like they hated right-wingers until they needed them.
Well, and I remember,
and now they hate them, and now they hate them again.
Well, yeah, they hate them again now because they're the ones that are actively standing in the way of them getting their way all the way through and through.
Mm-hmm. You're just a terrorist.
Well, I mean, but the thing is, I mean, first of all, I'm, as Magnus always laughs, if you're an anarchist, you're automatically more left wing than almost any, like actually left wing than almost any actual like left wing people.
Yes.
Because they're actually far more right wing. But the funny thing is that like I remember all of that. Like I remember, and that's international, right? Like I remember that being pushed so hard that the international press was really harping on this like rise of the militia movement in the U.S. And all of this stuff. And and I remember, Ruby Ridge. I remember Waco. I remember, all of that stuff happening, and that. Like if you think back to the early 90s into the mid 90s, like if you remember that, you remember constantly seeing like all of these like fear porn pieces on TV with these featuring these, these guys in the woods in fatigues, and M81s running around and shooting and stuff in the woods and like hyping that up like that this was this imminent threat and danger in the 90s. And
that was the decade following 1986, right? 1986, the Hughes Amendment.
Yep.
Right. That's when the ATF like really got a boost of muscle from the federal government and started going after people.
Well, which is the irony because they were already doing that. I mean, they were already going after people so badly. That was the whole reason. Like people forget the Hughes Amendment was attached to what was supposed to be the Gun Owners Protection Act.
Yeah.
And the Hughes Amendment was attached as a poison pill that was supposed to stop it from being passed. And the whole reason that the Gun Owners Protection Act was being passed was because since the NFA and GCA don't specify how many guns bought and sold in a given time period constitute being in the business of buying and selling firearms, anybody who bought or sold more than like 2 guns in a year was being harassed by the ATF. That they had to have an FFL. And so the Gun Owners Protection Act was supposed to stop that from happening. And the Democrats already didn't want that to happen. And then Reagan signed it with the Hughes Amendment anyway.
Well,
because he also didn't like guns.
Yeah, he didn't like guns either.
Yeah.
Just like Trump didn't like guns. Remember, Donald, take the guns first, due process second. I don't like silencers. I'm going to ban bump stocks. Trump.
4D chess, bro. We just need to vote for him again, and we'll totally get suppressors like bought out of fucking quarter machines.
He was also the guy who sat on a national press conference, was asked a question about suppressors because the Hearing Protection Act was starting to proceed through committee, and he says, I don't like them.
Yep. He also ordered ATF to ban bump stocks through an executive order.
Yep. Yeah, and that's why they're looking to codify that, which is funny because, what's interesting is that when Obama tried that just a couple of years prior, the fucking negotiating your rights away motherfuckers, they still opposed it and vehemently opposed it and were really, vocal about it. And everybody was up in arms as soon as Obama even proposed that. And he backed down. But as soon as Trump does it, everyone's like, well, I don't need a bump stock anyway.
Yep. Yeah. Even the right wing was saying
if your rights are violated by your guy, he's still violating your rights. He's not your guy.
But that's the MO of statists is if it's my guy, I don't care what he does because he's my guy. It really is a whole lot of it's like, NFC North fans and the Packers versus the Bears. If the Bears cheat, as long as they win, nobody cares. If the Packers cheat but they win, nobody cares. As long as you're a Packers fan.
So, all right, let's jump on this next article. It's this is a piece written by Dr. Thomas Sowell. If you don't know that name, Sowell, it's Sowell. He's one of the good guys, for the most part.
Yeah, Sowell is really. I really like a lot of the things he has to say. He's still a little statist. Don't get me wrong. He's got his moments, but he does say a lot of very good pro-liberty things. I'm a big fan.
Yes.
And I love when he gets accused of being a white supremacist on like Twitter and stuff. He's black.
Same thing with Eric July. I love
Eric July
Eric July getting it too.
I don't know. Am I going to read this whole thing? Because we're already short on time, but Thomas Sowell, he wrote this piece for creators.com. It's called The Point of No Return. He says this is an election year, but the issues this year are not about Democrats, Republicans. The big issue is whether this nation has degraded to a point of no return, a point where we risk destroying ourselves before our enemies can destroy us. If there is one moment that symbolizes our degeneration, it was when an enraged mob gathered in front of the Supreme Court and the leader of the United States Senate shouted toward the Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh saying, quote, "You won't know what hit you." There has always been irresistible demagogues, but there was once a time when anyone who shouted threats to the Supreme Court justice would see the end of his own political career and could not show his face in decent society again. Again, it's a little bit statey. Quote, "Or you either believe in laws or you believe in mob rule. It doesn't matter whether you agree with the law or agree with the mob on some particular issue. If threats of violence against judges and publishing where a judge's children go to school is the way to settle issues, then there is not much point in having elections or laws."
Amen.
Amen to
Although
that.
I believe that for a slightly different reason than you do.
Oh, yeah. Yes. There's also not much point in expecting to have freedom. Threats and violence were the way of the Nazis coming to power in Germany. Freedom is not free. If you can't be bothered to vote against stormtrooper tactics, regardless of who engages them or what issue, then you can forfeit your freedom. Again, he's not.
Yeah, because fucking voting.
Right here. Worst yet, you can forfeit your freedom of generations not yet born. Some people seem to think that the Supreme Court has banned abortion. It has done nothing of the sort, which it did not ban abortions. What it did is it kicked it back to the state level because the federal government doesn't have the authority to regulate something that it does not have the authority to do.
Yep.
That
was all it said. Was just we don't have the authority to say one way or another on this. It should be up to the states because, the Constitution says so.
Yeah. Unlike their recent gun rulings, which the government, by their document, the Constitution, says they don't have the power to regulate.
Which is why the Bruin case came out the way it did.
Yes. The Supreme Court has, in fact, done something very different, something long overdue and potentially historic. It has said that their own court had no business making policy decisions, which nothing in the Constitution gave them the authority to make, which is what we just said.
My favorite part about that, real quick to interject, is that was what that ruling was the Supreme Court doesn't, Roe v. Wade couldn't have actually happened because the Supreme Court doesn't have the ability to legislate. That isn't a thing that they have the ability to. That's specifically called out in the majority opinion. And in response, you're seeing a whole bunch of lefties who've been celebrating for probably the past 25, 30 years every time the Supreme Court legislates from the bench, going, well, the Supreme Court is legislating from the bench with this.
Yeah. No, they're undoing the legislation.
Yeah, they're undoing the legislation from the bench. But that's what I brought up before multiple times in the past few episodes with they want to redefine words until they have only the meaning that makes it convenient for them.
Yep.
Like they just changed the word the definition of the word recession.
Yeah.
To say that we're not in a recession.
Even though though
we're very obviously in a recession. I work in the financial industry. Trust me, everyone knows we are in a recession.
My industry is entirely dependent on the economy, and work is slowing down tremendously.
Unfortunate in that regard. Everybody needs healthcare.
I do like what Boring Sandwich said in the chat that law or mob rule sounds like a false dichotomy. It is.
Yes.
It is. Because strictly speaking, especially in a democracy, mob rule is law.
Yeah.
Yes. So, the 10th Amendment says, or between state and people, cherry-picking definition of words is a hallmark. Government employees. Okay, yeah. Dave says patch tails are way down, tricorn hats are way up. Yeah. Soul says, check out the 10th Amendment, which says the federal government is limited in the specific powers it was granted, with all other powers going to the state of the people. Why do we elect legislators to do what the voters want done if unelected judges are going to make up laws on their own instead of applying laws that elected officials pass? This is part of a very long struggle that has been going on for more than 100 years. Back in the early 20th century, progressives like President Woodrow Wilson decided that the Constitution put too much limit on the powers they wanted to use.
That was the fucking point.
Yeah, but remember, Woodrow Wilson...
The Federalist Papers were even more limiting in the powers of the federal government, which is why the Federalist... essentially overthrew the Articles of the Confederation and implemented the Constitution, which a lot of the founders refused to sign until the Bill of Rights was added.
Yep, and that gets glossed over. I found out in American high school because they intentionally kind of ignore that debate. They mention it, but they just only in passing, and then they just move on. And that was back again in the early 2000s. I'm sure 20 years later, it's even worse now.
Yes.
Oh yeah. There's a reason why we say that the Constitution was a coup.
Because it was.
Because it was.
Yeah. Yep. Claiming that it was nearly impossible to amend the Constitution, progressives advocated that judges, quote, interpret the constitutional limits out of their way. That was just the first in a long series of sophistries. In reality, the Constitution was amended 4 times in 8 years from 1913 to 1920 during the heyday of the progressive era. When the people wanted the Constitution amended, it was amended. When the elites wanted the Constitution amended, but the people did not, that is called democracy. Another great sophistry was using the federal government's authority to regulate interstate commerce to call all sorts of things interstate commerce. Yep,
they have redefined that out of any possible bearing on reality.
Yes, in 1995, elites were shocked when the Supreme Court ruled 5-4 that carrying a gun near a school was not considered interstate commerce.
Because the fuck it isn't.
Yes, states had a right to ban carrying a gun near a school, and most of the time they did, but the federal government had no such authority, nor did the Constitution give the federal government the right to make laws about abortion one way or another. What both state and federal laws have the right to stop is threats against judges and their families. This is not a partisan issue. The Republican governor of Virginia is providing protection for the Supreme Court justices who live in that state, but the Republican governor of Maryland seems to think that harassing judges and their families is no big deal. Voters need to find out who is for or against mob rule, whether they are Democrats or Republicans. We are not going to be free or decent society otherwise. We're not going to be free or decent society otherwise anyway.
We're not a free or decent society. It's like when people go, oh, taxes are the price we pay for living in a civilized society. When was the last time we lived in a civilized fucking society? Taxes are the price we pay for not living in a civilized fucking society.
Look at California, bro. We do not live in a civilized society. Like California had $100 billion budget surplus. We still have record homelessness. We still have record poverty levels. We still have food banks that are begging for donations. Like, we are not a decent society, bro. Sorry.
Well, not only that, but this whole thing with the Supreme Court is just ridiculous because we've managed to see, what the point of the ruling was that the Supreme Court doesn't get to legislate. It's part of the executive branch. It is not part of the legislative branch. It does not, in fact, get to it's part of the judicial branch, rather, not not part of the legislative. So it doesn't get to.
It doesn't get to dictate powers, right? It has a specific list of things that it says that the government can do this. The government, if that specific power is not listed on that sheet of paper, then the federal government, by definition, by the rule of the document of the founding of this country, The federal government can't do it.
Right. Its job, right? Its job is to be the supreme court of the land and to interpret, as such, solely interpret the law. Now, as far as interpreting the Constitution, that's actually a power they gave themselves in Marbury versus Madison, in the first case. But either way, that's generally been accepted as, as the function. And they're only allowed to interpret what already exists. They're only allowed to interpret this case in light of the existing laws, in light of the Constitution. That's it. That's all they're able to do. And that's all that ruling says. What's interesting is that for the past probably 30 years, people on the conservative side, genuinely conservative, not neocons, but like genuinely conservative side, have been yelling about the fact that the Supreme Court continues to try to legislate from the bench. I can remember in high school us talking about that, how they're legislating from the bench, and they're not supposed to be able to do that. They're not supposed to be allowed. That's an oligarchy. That's not okay. And now that they finally actually returned in a couple of rulings to what they should have been doing and said, no, we can't legislate. Now you start seeing all of these people go, they're legislating from the bench. They're just trying to rule by dictate. This is an oligarchy, man. Because it doesn't agree. And then remember, the whole reason that they're appointed for life is so that they're immune to political influence.
Yes.
Once they're in place. They can't be replaced. They don't need to worry about whether or not they'll lose their job for doing something unpopular. That was the point. And there have been several articles from very left-wing publications that have come out that have said, oh, we need to enact term limits for judges so that we can remove the political influence from the bench.
Yeah. Dave asks, is there a database that will tell you what laws are current and in practice and what has been overruled via other cases? Nope. There's no database that you can look and see what the law is. The laws are so overlapping and so repetitive that it is absolutely impossible to tell that what is what.
Yep. And on top of that, you have the fact that Congress can throw amendments onto bills that have nothing to do with the rest of the bill. There's no topical requirement. So there are aspects of laws that you're governed by that you would have to look, that you're governed by in relation to, say, cars and what, safety requirements are or whatever. There are laws for that you have to go looking in an agriculture bill to try and find where that law actually is.
Yep. It's insane. All right, you ready for a laugh?
Oh, sure.
Always down for a laugh.
It's not one of the articles listed. We're gonna go to UC Berkeley.
Oh, that is a joke.
Protesters declare housing is a human right while marching against new housing construction. No,
what?
Hold on. This gets so good. This gets so good. On Wednesday, protesters flooded People's Park in Berkeley, California, chanting, quote, "Housing is a human right. Fight, fight, fight." The reason the crowd was protesting, the University of California, Berkeley, was set to begin construction on student housing project, which would not only house 1,100 Berkeley students at below market rates, but also provide subsidized apartments for 125 homeless people. And the protesters wanted to stop this project. Hold on. Andrew's starting to twitch. Hold on. According to the Associated Press,
all I can think of though is that scene in Ricky Bobby with the, I'm going to admit, I'm a little confused by your
According to the Associated Press, protesters threw rocks, bottles, and glass at construction workers. They also removed several sections of chain link fence surrounding the park. On Wednesday, the university announced that it would pause construction of the park, citing protester violence. Quote, all construction personnel were withdrawn out of concern for their safety. That is according to Dan Mogloff, the U.S. Assistant Vice Chancellor. He also says, quote, the campus will, in the days ahead, assess the situation in order to determine how best to proceed with construction of this urgently needed student housing project.
Armed security.
Hold on. The university has tried since 2017 to construct more student housing in a city where rents are often so high that student housing supply is so low that some students have resorted to sleeping in their cars. The construction project
themselves become homeless in order to go to
the same students who are also protesting that housing is a human right. It's not, but housing is a human right are the ones in the way of the student housing.
The construction project will provide much needed affordable housing to many students at 1,100 apartments for students. In typical NIMBY, that is not in my backyard, fashion, the lawsuits claim that the university did not consider enough other building sites. According to The Real Deal, it is a San Francisco-based real estate news website. The university considered over a dozen other sites.
Over 12 separate sites. Oh, it's not enough. I fucking think it is.
Yeah, quote, ever since we announced plans for the People's Park project in 2018, I am convinced that we have an opportunity for a win-win-win benefiting our students, unhoused people, and our community and our neighbors across the city. That's according to the Chancellor Carol Christ in 2021. The main source of controversy of the housing site's location, People's Park, is a university-owned plot of land with an historical activist site. Most famously, the park was the site of the Bloody Thursday, a 1969 student protest turned riot that left 50 injured and 1 dead after police fired buck and birdshot into the crowd. Protesters thus view the park as a critical historical site, and even though over half of the park will remain intact as a green space, many of the students believe it should not be changed. The park is also, quote, home to dozens of homeless people. Hold that thought. I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. Hold on. Ironically, the oft-criticized building project would create housing for homeless people, not destroy it. According to the AP, during the duration of construction, the nearly 50 homeless people living in the park were offered shelter, which all of them accepted, at a hotel paid for by the university. While the project is complete, it will include 125 apartments for homeless individuals.
Wait, so are they under the impression that these homeless people would rather be sleeping in tents?
Hold on. Those that oppose the housing project voice a uniquely California kind of NIMBYism, that is, again, not in my backyard, kind of NIMBYism when discussing homelessness. Sure, the project will provide much needed housing for the homeless, but it would also displace a small number of homeless people who like sleeping in out-air tent encampments with no running water.
They can move. It's a tent.
I was going to say they're currently not tied to that park. They could easily.
It's a tent. They're fucking homeless. What are they? They gotta stay there for their job. I
don't think the park has an address that they can use on a taxi.
They're worried. They're worried. What are the homeless angry because it's going to put them too far?
It's not. It's not the whole. It's not the homeless that are angry.
Right, but I'm just saying, like, is that what these people think? Like, you're displacing these people who are happy to live in their tents. They're going to have to walk an extra 15 minutes to get to their favorite Starbucks. Damn it, they have a rapport with that barista, you monster.
To get to their favorite panhandling spots.
Yes. If construction of People's Park is permanently stopped, cash-strapped students and homeless people will be the ones to suffer. Stopping the construction of new housing in a city where one of the worst housing shortages in America, it is fucking ridiculous in Berkeley. Below market housing aimed at students and homeless no less seems deeply at odds with the claim that, quote, housing is a human right.
Housing is a human right unless it interferes with my pretty green space that I really like.
Which half the park is still going to be there.
Right. So,
but they really want to be able to talk about the plight of the homeless underneath this one particular tree. So if you make them not homeless and take away that tree, they can't do that. And then they might have to resort to actual activism and actually doing something to help the homeless rather than just virtue signaling. And these upper middle class piles of shit can't be bothered to do that. I mean, that's the thing, man. That's
pretty well.
That's the thing that, like, because I've been homeless multiple times.
What is the average home price in Berkeley, California?
Oh God, a lot.
Both testicles and a kidney.
1.7 million.
That's average.
Average.
The typical home value of homes in Berkeley is $1,718,898.
Do you know what you can buy around here for $1.7 million?
Yes, this value is seasonally adjusted and only includes the middle price tier of homes.
What is that with a really solid rate mortgage? That's going to run you $3,800, $3,900.
Okay, here's a different article that says 1.2. There's a different article here that says 1.2 million.
Even
so 1.7 to 1.2.
1.2 will get you about 400 acres of land.
Here's another one. Here's another one that says Zillow records a typical Berkeley house as being 1.44, which is higher than a San Francisco home at 1.415. So it is more expensive to buy a house in Berkeley than it would be to buy a house in San Francisco.
So you are looking. So let's say, like, right now, there's a house for sale. Okay, so there's a house for sale right now. In not far from me, not super far from me. Huge house. Huge house. It's on 36 acres. It's a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house, right? 4,500 square feet. $1.4 million.
Yes.
Here. So, and that's, to put that in perspective, that means that the average house payment there is more than $7,000 for a mortgage per month.
And that's in Berkeley. And in Berkeley, that is likely a townhouse, or it is a small house on a postage stamp lot. Like you're not going to get acreage with that. 50-50 shot at getting a garage at all.
So
and you're going to be close to hear your neighbors flush your toilet.
Here's one that's not too far from Andrew and I.
I know over there it's cheaper, but it's not UC Berkeley.
No, it's here $1.65 million. 4-bedroom, 5-bath, 3,000 square feet. 93.81 acres.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can't imagine why they have such a homeless problem in Berkeley. Yeah, it's a complete mystery. Like, dude, are you kidding? And then they're like, hey, we're going to help this problem out. We've listened to you, students, and we understand that you care about these homeless people. So we're going to give them housing here on the campus that we can
50 homeless people in the park. The new construction would have spots for 125 homeless apartments.
So 75 more homeless than just the people who are in the park could then therefore move into these places.
Yes, as transitionary housing or whatever else.
And they are protesting, yelling, housing is a human right.
While stopping a low-income housing project that also benefits the homeless.
Right.
And this is why you need to buy your children Derica's books. Think for yourself. A critical thinking workbook for beginners. Because if they grow up knowing how to think critically, they don't do these kinds of things.
Yes.
The kids who grow up worrying.
Dave says, I think those students might be retarded. Dave, in modern era, if you go to a university, there's a high probability that you are functionally retarded.
Like, this is, I can't even, the SC Sears says in the chat that the average rent in Berkeley is $3,300 a month.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
That's three times my mortgage payment per month.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a mortgage that could afford a $500,000 place. Solidly.
Yep.
Like, that includes escrow?
Like, that's rent. That's how expensive it is to live there. That's why there's so many homeless people, and they're trying to alleviate that. And these people are protesting while demanding more housing. And their argument is, but you didn't look at enough place. They looked at 12. 12.
More than a dozen. More than a dozen.
Oh my God.
Yeah. You feel better now? Are you okay?
The only thing I can think of is that they're like, but they really like their tent right here, and if you move them, then they're not going to know anybody, and their squirrel friends aren't going to be like. What are you?
Well, I mean, it is Berkeley. They are overrun by tree-hugging hippies. They could maybe they're really just worried about the squirrels.
There are no tree-hugging hippies left in Berkeley.
Oh no, there wouldn't.
It is outright socialist.
Yeah.
This is
so they're not worried about their squirrel friends.
I can't.
No, they're worried about the squirrels.
In general, no matter how like ridiculous.
And we're not talking. Okay, so you see, Berkeley has a history of this. Several years ago, when they wanted to expand the student athletic facility, they cut down some. They were going to cut down some trees, and there were people that went and lived in these oak trees. Like they literally put up platforms and tarps and lived in these trees for like 8 or 10 months before the police finally came in and pulled them down, and they tore them down and built the athletic facility. So like we're not talking about an expansion of the athletic facility here. We're talking about houses, right? Like this is going to be a gigantic apartment building. 1,100 students will be able to live in this apartment building instead of on the street. Instead of in their cars, instead of having to stack 4 people into a bedroom to pay $3,300
or couch surf
plus 125 apartments for homeless. Like it's just it's
you know what it is. You know what it is deep down. Nope, I figured it out because I was trying to figure out what their motivation could possibly be because of the insanity of this whole thing. I figured it out. What it is that they're yelling homelessness or housing is a human right, so that they can distract from the fact that what they're really worried about is the fact that they would be moving in to the same building as the homeless would be living.
Yeah,
that's entirely possible.
Said, not in my backyard.
Yep, that's what it is. They just don't want to have to actually deal with homeless people.
Okay, where do we want to go down? Do we want to go Supreme Court of Pennsylvania?
I mean, they both sound pretty awful.
I guess let's go with the Supreme Court, I guess.
It's like, where would you like to be kicked, in the forehead or the nuts?
The Supreme Court one's positive. Yeah. Supreme Court's gun ruling opens the door for gun rights movement. The Supreme Court.
I didn't mean what the article was. I meant just you asked, like, where would you rather go, the Supreme Court or Pennsylvania? And I'm like,
I don't want to be kicked out of the way.
Neither one of those.
Supreme Court ruling expanding gun rights threatens to upend firearms restrictions across the country as activists wage court battles over everything from bans on AR-15 style guns to age limits, also magazines and magazine capacity and handgun rusters. And the decision handed down in June already has led to one judge temporarily blocking a Colorado town from enforcing a ban on sales and possession and certain semi-automatic weapons. It also gave a judge course to remove or to rule in Maryland on a gun bill. He cited Braun, saying that there's no point for it. There's no point in the lawsuit going forward because Braun has already ruled that this specific issue is unconstitutional.
Yep, it's already been taken care of.
I think that was a GOA, Gun Owners of America.
Yeah, that was a GOA lawsuit.
Yeah.
And there was a GOA SAF.
Yeah, there's like, I mean, there's a number of cases right now that are facing Bruin scrutiny between the GOA, the NAGR, and FBC.
Yes.
Well, there's also a criminal prosecution in Florida that's facing Bruin scrutiny right now.
The first major gun decision in more than a decade, the ruling could dramatically reshape gun laws in the U.S., even as a series of horrific mass shootings pushes the issue back into the headlines. Quote, the gun rights movement has been given a weapon of mass destruction, and it will annihilate approximately 75% of gun laws eventually. That is according to Evan Napian,
that seems
New
like
Jersey city gun rights attorney.
Picture me in the rain, just staring, going, "Don't do that. Don't give me help."
Right?
With a raging heart on. The court battle comes as Biden administration and the police departments across the U.S. struggle to combat a surge of violent crime and mass shootings, including several high-profile killings carried out by suspects who purchased their guns legally.
So they followed all of the bullshit laws that they currently have on the books, and they still got the weapons.
Yes.
So the law didn't prevent anything. So what we need is more laws.
Yes.
And given the sheer number of cases now working through the courts, a lot more time will be spent in courtrooms no matter who wins. I think FPC said they have over 24 active. I know GOA and SAF, that is Gun Owners of America, and the Second Amendment Foundation are both pushing a couple dozen cases through. Indiana Gun Rights, I think that's the name of it, or Indiana Firearms Rights or whatever it is. They just had a major win, and the state had to pay them like $100,000 or whatever. So, but there's a lot of movement happening right now.
Oh yeah, Bruin opened the floodgates because Bruin finally returned us to a true interpretation, or at least a semi.
Well, not only did Bruin, but it was the EPA one that gutted Chevron.
Yes.
The EPA one killed Chevron. So now what's happening is, like, you have the case with the guy here in Wisconsin over the auto key card, where now he's challenging the NFA itself under Bruin and the Chevron thing, and could potentially overturn the NFA. And if the NFA falls, the GCA must necessarily fall because it's spawned of the NFA.
And same with the Hughes Amendment.
Yep, and the Hughes Amendment falls, which means I can buy another belt-fed machine gun.
I just want to be able to legally carry a firearm in California.
Oh yeah, the thing is my desires are simple, right? Like, for this, like, I don't.
My desires are not simple, but I will be happy with just one or two.
Yeah, but I mean, what I'm saying though is, like, what would make me the most happy about this isn't necessarily, I can go buy a belt-fed machine gun. It's, I can finally go out and buy. Maybe I can convince HK to import certain guns to the U.S. I can convince FN to import certain guns to the U.S. I can get my hands on an MP7. I can get my hands on
I want to play with an MP7 so bad.
A Scorpion Evo in full auto with a
civilian MP5. A legit
MP5.
Civilian MP5.
Yep. I can get my hands on an MP5 SD. I can get my hands on a suppressed UMP45.
I have print shoot repeats HK slap playing in my head right now.
And the thing is I don't, but I mean, the thing is I don't necessarily, like, want them because they're full auto, because full auto tends to basically be a waste of ammunition.
I want them because they're
guns.
I want them because they're resistance grade weaponry.
Well, yeah, but they're really nice guns, right? They're just really nice guns.
They're well built and fantastic weapons.
Well, I mean,
and it's stupid that I can't have them.
Given what we talked about earlier, I mean, I think we need resistance grade weaponry.
I would like a Chris Vector in the only guise that Chris Vector is worth it to buy. And that's not a semi-auto carbine. Mm-hmm. It's a full auto, short-barreled guys. That is the only way Chris Vector is worth it. Anything less than that, it's garbage.
Yep. Suppressed with a giggle switch. Just
yeah. Like, I want to be able to buy one of those little, like, Thompson with the top mounted, the 180s or whatever. I forget what they're called. The something other 180s.
The dinner plate.
That had the dinner plate mag on it. That was the full auto, like, Thompson style 22 that fires at like 2,500 RPM. So it's just a swarm of angry bees when you pull the trigger. Just
a swarm of angry bees.
It's because they're only 22, but it's firing like 500 of them in a cough. Like,
What's that?
It is ridiculous.
What is that?
And the best part,
that's like a $30 drum.
The best part though, the best part about the thing is why it was made. It was made for police officers to be a less than lethal solution for crowd control.
Oh, the Brett says he wants a USAS 12.
Yeah, I mean,
I want an full auto AK that actually came from where they're supposed to come from.
A full auto AK would be fantastic.
I'm getting a chubby. Yeah. All right. The Supreme Court decision struck down a New York law requiring people to demonstrate a particular need to get a license to carry a concealed gun in public, saying it violates the Second Amendment rights. Several other states, including California, Hawaii, Maryland, Massachusetts, New Jersey, and Rhode Island, also have similar laws that expected to be directly impacted by the ruling. In Massachusetts, for example, police chiefs can no longer deny or impose restrictions on licenses just because the applicant doesn't have a, quote, good reason to carry a gun. In the New York ruling, the High Court's conservative majority also changed a test lower court had used for evaluating challenges of gun laws. Judges should no longer consider whether the law serves public interest, like enhancing public safety. That is the opinion authored by Justice Clarence Thomas. He said they should only weigh whether the law is, quote, consistent with the Second Amendment's text and historical understandings.
And the fact that Clarence Thomas was also one of the part of the majority for the abortion.
Oh, yes, the G36. Dave, I want to G36.
The XM8 is an interesting concept, but it just seems like way too much.
Both so bad. Anyway, regardless, no, you don't want those. I'm telling you right now. You don't actually. You think you do. You don't. But you don't. They're a bit crap.
The XM8 was kind of crap.
They're a bit crap.
Says the guy that said the other day he wants to try an M&P 15. What? You said you wanted an M&P 15.
No, I have an M&P 1522. I have one right now. It's sitting right over there. It's like the best 22 AR there is.
My CMMG will outshoot that thing every day.
Yeah, but with the little self-contained bolts and it's really nice. It's really nice. It's cheap. It works. I'm also a huge fan of Glocks because they're fairly cheap. They just work. They ain't fancy. They ain't special. They're just reliable.
Yeah, but then you go 10 millimeter, which is
because it's the Lord's caliber.
No, it's not.
I'm pretty sure that Jesus said, "Let he who has no 10 millimeters sell his plowshare and buy one." I'm pretty sure that's the exact quote.
Buy what? Three rounds?
Hey, you know what? I can't help what the devil does in the world when it comes to restricting the Lord's caliber.
Let's see. The Supreme Court has ordered lower courts to take another look at several other cases under the court's new test, among them laws in California and New Jersey that limit the amount of ammunition a gun magazine can hold, and the 2013 ban on assault weapons in Maryland.
Yeah. What I was saying about Clarence Thomas is what I was saying was funny is he was the majority on both of those cases, right? He was part of the majority. And what immediately happened is that lefties, specifically Democrats, showed
straight to the Uncle Tom rhetoric.
Not only that, they were talking about lynching him. They were talking about hanging him publicly. Like, immediately showed their true colors and their historic colors.
Who founded the KKK?
Oh,
that would be Democrats.
Southern Democrats. Who wrote all of the Jim Crow laws in the American South after?
I believe that would also be Southern Democrats.
Who filibustered the Civil Rights Acts in the 1960s?
Oh, that was also the Democrats.
Who went during confirmation hearings and openly criticized and attacked Justice Clarence Thomas? Oh, that's right. The dementia patient currently sitting in the office.
Gun rights groups are facing similar bans.
Got us into Vietnam and wanted to a thing that disproportionately drafted huge numbers of Black Americans. Oh wait,
don't forget
that was also Democrats.
Don't forget what he wrote in the criminal omnibus bill about drugs and how crack cocaine was a 10-year sentence, but powder cocaine, which is not
people,
which is a white people drug, it was a much less of a sentence.
Oh yeah.
Well, yes, because his son at the time was,
the funny thing though about that, every time I think about cocaine versus crack cocaine, is Whitney Houston, when she was asked whether or not she did crack, she said, "Crack is whack. I make way too much money to smoke crack." Because the implication of that is, I do white people cocaine, okay? I'm rich.
Yes. Laws in California, New Jersey limit the amount of ammunition a gun magazine can hold. A 2013 ban on assault weapons in Maryland. Gun right groups are also challenging similar bans in California, New York, New Jersey, and Delaware. Quote, the rifles at issue in this case are the source of bearable arms in common use for lawful purposes that reasonable and peaceful people across the United States possess by the millions. And they are, moreover, exactly what they would bring to service in militia duty should such be necessary. That is according to a lawsuit brought in June by the Firearms Policy Coalition. Based FPC again.
Yeah.
That's
Dave, and that's the thing.
Dave,
what freaked them out? Hey man,
Whitney Houston's biggest hit of the last. Ouch.
And in that spirit, congratulations to Amy Winehouse for yet another year of sobriety.
In addition, gun right groups are suing Colorado over the state's 2013 ban on magazines that hold more than 15 rounds, saying the high court ruling reinforces the group's argument that it infringes on the Second Amendment rights. And that a ruling has public defenders in New York asking judge to drop gun possession cases.
The next one, not all these lawsuits will necessarily be successful. I want to point this out, Texas Attorney General, for example, argues the Supreme Court ruling doesn't affect the state's age limit law, and more state and local governments can certainly defend their gun laws as being in line with U.S. history. So this is the supposed free state of Texas, which has an age limit law of 21 or older.
Yep.
Everything's bigger in Texas except our ability to have any critical thinking.
Encouraged by the decision, Taylor D. Rhodes, executive director at the Rocky Mountain Gun Owners, told the Associated Press that his group was considering going after other gun measures in Colorado, where Democrats hold a majority in the state legislature and the governor's office. Referencing the Supreme Court's ruling, Rhodes said, quote, the Braun decision has given us a 4-ton wrecking ball.
Well, I mean, it has, and it's fantastic.
Oh, no, it hasn't given you a 4-ton wrecking ball. It's given you a 21-ton armored Komatsu bulldozer.
Yes. And we don't have time for the last article that I wanted to bring up, but it's Pennsylvania poaching police warrantless installed cameras on private land to surveil a hunting club.
So, which is something we covered before, where they had done that on another
in Kentucky or Tennessee.
It was Tennessee.
Something like that. So this is now
that before.
This is now the Puxatawney Hunting Club and the Pitch Pine Hunting Club operate in Pennsylvania. Collectively, 2 clubs own and operate 5,000 acres of forest land on which members can hunt for whatever game animals are currently in session. There's also but either way, twig pigs.
So basically, they tried, the twig pigs illegally, unconstitutionally started surveilling them on their privately owned land
by planting game cameras without a warrant on the land.
Yep.
So twig pigs.
They fished for cause to go after you.
Yes.
Yep.
Don't forget the twig pigs are still pigs, right? They're just because they're DNR, they're not. That doesn't mean they're not cops. They will still try and entrap you. They'll still try and get you to say things.
Yeah, every DNR agency in the country still has all full police powers. It's written right into their charters.
Mm-hmm.
So like remember when you're dealing with a DNR agent, you have the exact same rights as you do. Yeah, when you're dealing with twig pig, you have exactly the same rights as you do when you're dealing with regular pigs, which means you have the right to remain silent. You do not have to answer questions. You do not have to show them things. They still need a warrant or probable cause. Don't forget that when you're dealing with them. Too many people, when it's a fucking, this guy's just a fish and game, and he comes up and he's like, well, how many fish you got there? And they hold it up because they think they need to. No, that's self-incrimination. You don't need to do that. You still have constitutional protection.
All right. Let's finish it up and get out of here. Yes.
All right.
Andrew, you want to say something else? I know it.
Oh, all I was saying is with regular pigs.
I'll give you 120 seconds. Go.
Okay. Just like with regular pigs, when you're dealing with twig pigs, the only thing you should be saying is, I do not answer questions. I do not consent to searches. I would like to speak with my attorney. That's all you should be saying. Say nothing else. You don't have the right to the obligation to say anything. You have the right to refuse them entry. You have the right to refuse to show them things. You have the right to do all those things. And you need to remember that you have those rights. Too many people are willing to incriminate themselves because they're dumb and don't understand that they're still considered police for the purposes of the Constitution. Stop doing that.
Law enforcement.
I will add to that, though, that in a lot of states, written into the charters and the laws governing the twig pigs, they do give them the authority, as Dave said, can confiscate everything you own on the spot.
The civil asset forfeiture of Fish and Game outweighs that of the local officer, without a doubt.
Oh, they're far worse. They're far worse.
But
so again, remember,
they also have the
fucking rights.
But they also, Andrew, you have to remember, yes, you have the constitutional fucking rights, but they will just take everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You don't consent to searches. They just take everything if you.
Right. Except
and
that
in the state.
Then...
Well, I'll point out in our particular state, if a twig pig walks up to you while you're out, say on public hunting land, and they walk up to you and ask to check what type of ammunition you're using, failure to disclose that information is grounds for an immediate arrest.
Yep.
See, but that's different because it's public land. That's where things get murky. But if you're on private land and they show up, fuck them.
In our state, they can't even enter private land without a warrant anymore. They changed.
Well, the thing is that everybody's just been consenting for so fucking long, and no one's challenged this shit in court enough. You need to start fucking taking this shit to court and challenging it.
Yep. All right, let's throw some.
Or remember that you're in the middle of the woods and no one's exactly sure where they are. But I didn't say that.
No one can hear you scream.
Awfully bold of you to sneak up on a guy when he's out, hunting with a high.
When he's armed in the middle of the woods.
Are those level 4? Are those level 4 plates?
All right, we should go.
Yeah, that PNW guerrilla videos making the rounds again.
For legal reasons, this is all jokes.
Brandenburg, Ohio, 1969. All right, throw plugs. Let's get out of here.
Use the link in the description to get yourself some coffee. That's all I'm going to say.
Yes. Andrew?
As I mentioned already, Derek's book, Critical Thinking Workbook for Beginners. Make sure that you check it out, get it, use it with your kids, educate them the right way so they understand how to think, not what to think. Trust me, you want to prepare them, especially if they're going to public school. Really, homeschool is the best. Private school is the second best. If you have to get them into public school, you need to make sure that they're prepared for the bullshit that they're going to encounter. Don't let them get misled. We're an affiliate of RK Spookware. If you use the link in the description, if you need to order anything for your various PLA plastic printy things that you're going to make sure that you order it through there. Use the link and you help us out by doing that. Dave, drawing noodles is harder than I thought. That's a quote of the point right there. It's harder than I thought.
That is now the title of the episode, I think.
Yeah, drawing noodles. Let's see. If you want to care for your beard like a Viking, like I do, and you like to smell really good, and maybe your lady likes to smell good too, and not that she has a beard, we're not dwarves, but hey, man, I'm not here to judge. But anyway,
it's 2022, bro.
See, yeah, I'm not here to judge, man. That's not my purview. But if you want really nice scents, you want really good hair care products, check out thebeardstruggle.com. Use code InkedAnarchist15. You get 15% off. Again, they have all sorts of new scents, and they have stuff for women now, and they're always adding stuff. They're always adding stuff for women, adding new scents, all sorts of new products. Check them out. Again, InkedAnarchist15 at checkout. You get 15% off. Be sure that you check out our boy Dave, Poppins Patches. He is the guy that we've been referencing throughout the episode.
Always appreciate Dave in the chats.
Yep, and we got tons of patches from him. We've given away patches from him. He does the T-shirt that me and Chris helped design. He's working with me on the flag stuff. There's, he's now making our wonderful macaroni noodle FEMA camp patch thing.
The redacted shark.
Yes, the redacted shark that started it all. He makes that one. It glows in the dark. Keep that in mind. Freaked me out the first time. Didn't realize that. Saw it in my bedroom sitting out
unit identification.
But he makes the tactical tricorn hat, all sorts of cool stuff. Make sure that you check him out again. It's poppinpatches.com. Check us out on Odyssey, Rumble. We have a Telegram channel for the show.
T.me/AAFRTD.
We are discontinuing the MeWe.
Yep, MeWe's gone. MeWe started banning anybody that it didn't politically like after releasing a "We stand with the current thing" announcement and stuff. They've just, so
yep,
we're done with them.
Right. On that note, catch us again in. We'll probably be here next week, but again in 2 weeks' time. 2 weeks' time. That is Sunday, August 21st. We will be doing a live. With Typo and Luke from Biting the Bullet, where we will be going over Operation PatCon and Ruby Ridge, because it is the 30th anniversary of Samuel Weaver's murder and the beginning of the standoff that cost Vicky Weaver her life. Yeah. Any last thoughts?
On that show, I will have a very nice shirt that I've ordered specifically for that.
That will be a fun episode.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and you guys know my definition of fun by now.
Yeah, hold on, it gets better.
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson, or not Samuel Jackson. Morgan Freeman pops up. It did not get better.
Narrator voice. Things did not get better.
It did not get better.
Yeah. The Peacefully Assembly patch.
Yes, peacefully assemble patch is fantastic.
Yes.
One. No. All right, and we'll I guess that we'll catch you on the next one. Late. Peace.
Peace.
Yep.